What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. So today I have with me 4 guests for the World Championship meta discussion for the channel. Our 4th guest is Will Mantho. He's actually in Discord with me right now because his Skype isn't working. So you won't see him on the screen, so this is a little bit of a challenge for this video to know, for everyone else to know when Will's done talking, so I'll have to tell them. But should be fun, should be informative. I'm excited. So Will, why don't you introduce yourself? And Pedro, I'll let you know when Will's done talking.
Well, I'm Will Mantho. I'm a player from Ohio. This is my first full year of playing competitive Pokemon. I got a job a couple years ago, so I was able to finally make the step from like casual to competitive now. I got second at Madison Regionals this year. I got 10th at Toronto this year. So hopefully next season I can get some more results.
Nice, sounds good. Pedro.
Hi, I'm Pedro. I'm from Spain. I was second in Europe from CP this year. After Thor is another level than the other humans. And I've been playing since 2013, I think. Yeah, it's like 5 years playing. And this is gonna be my 3rd World Championship. So I'm so excited about this, yeah.
Nice. And you're straight into day 2, correct?
Yeah, I'm day 2.
Okay, have you ever had to play through day 1? Pedro, have you ever had to play in day 1 before?
I played in 2016. I played day 1, I played Seismitoad toolbox, like water box, right?
Okay.
Something like that.
Cool. Yeah. Riley?
Hi, so I'm Riley Hulbert. I play out of the Columbus area, kind of the Ohio area. I kind of travel around a little bit. I was a Dallas Regional Champion this year with Zoroark, kind of the first really successful variant of that Zoroark eggs field, although I played the Muck, which later was phased out. Finished with 800 CP this year, just over that, so that put me like 20-something in the rankings. And my first full year playing and I'm just really happy to be here, really happy to be going to Worlds as well. It's my first Worlds.
Cool. Me too. Should be fun. Franco.
All right. Hey everyone. This is Franco. I've been in the game since I'll say probably around 2009. But I took some years off. I'll say around from 2012 through 2014. I was just kind of like taking it easy. I wasn't like I was like on the scene, but I wasn't really like traveling around or participating too much. I just went for the grinders and nationals mainly.
Cool.
And then after 2015, I was like, okay, I guess I should start trying a little harder. I've won regionals back in 2010 in Florida.
Nice.
And yeah, ever since I started trying on 2015, I've been playing Worlds, since till this year as well.
Great.
I played, I only played day 1. I'll be playing day 1. I day 2'd in 2015 with Seismitoad and Genesect. But yeah, I do have an idea and an experience what it's like to be, playing in day 2.
Cool. Great. Sounds good. Okay, so the first question I want to have is, after playing with or against Ray GX, is it better or worse than you thought it would be? So since Ray GX is like the big card we got from this set, I'll start with Franco and go from right to left.
In my opinion, honestly, when I started playing Ray GX, I'd say it was within what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't anything over, like beyond my something beyond my expectation, nor it wasn't disappointing either.
Okay.
I don't think the card is bad, but it really, in my opinion, it really kind of comes down to the list. Like the list and certain cards on counts and all this stuff actually matters in terms of the performance for the Ray.
Okay, cool. Good thoughts. Riley?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was a lot more impressed with Ray GX than I thought I would be. I kind of thought its success in Japan hinged a lot more on having access to things like Hexmaniac and Shaman. Obviously, those were huge parts of how it worked in Japan, but I think it's actually still a pretty strong deck. Just the fact it can just immediately overwhelm you turn 2 with like 9 energy on board. Sometimes it flops, sometimes you mill 3 max elixirs and 1 stormy wins. All the things can happen, but it's pretty impressive how powerful it is, and it's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Good thoughts. Pedro?
I think Rai is super, super good, to be honest. I remember when Franco Kitch was in the Japan national, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you streamed the tournament. I was watching the Rayquaza rounds, and I was super hyped about the deck. And now I tested it, and it's super good. It's like if you have a good setup, like no meals like triple elixir. I mean, one elixir is fine. If you set up everything in a correct order, it's like you win the game for sure. So I think it's really good deck for sure.
Yeah, it definitely has some busted board setups early game.
Mm-hmm.
Will, so what are your thoughts on Ray GX? We've had Riley and Pedro say that they think it's really powerful, force to be reckoned with, and Franco said it's kind of where he expected it to be.
In my testing, I played like maybe like 50 games against Ray and with Ray, and
Okay.
like, the speed version is by far the best version for sure.
Mhm.
Ray Garb is complete trash. It's just so bad. Like you cannot get hindered by, like setting up a Garb. You have to just go in,
Mhm.
and like the only scary thing is Trash Lange, because if they get like more than one out, and like they kind of just like lose. Because you can't really play around it unless you get like Guza on like 3 GXs.
Right.
The Mars Shadow that some people are playing is really good in it.
Yeah, let loose Marshadow from Shining Legends.
Yeah. So like people said it was really like bad when the set first came out, but I think it's just I think it's really good. I think it'd be definitely be played a lot.
Cool. So, guys, so what Will was saying pretty much was he thinks straight Ray's a lot better than Ray Garb. I tend to agree with that because I think Ray Garb is nice because you have something that's not so linear. You have options, but I think Ray's big point is that you can just aggress over the board and just be this force that cannot stop because of all the energy. Does anyone favor Ray Garb over straight Ray? No? Okay.
Not me.
Okay. Cool. So in testing for Worlds, what decks have you been initially testing against? For example, whenever I build a deck or start with a new archetype, I automatically see how it fares against Zoro Control and Buzzrock. Will, I'll let you start this one.
What? Sorry, what was the question again?
So what decks do you initially test against with a new archetype or a new rogue creation that you have?
We've been testing against Buzzrock and Zoro Garb a lot.
Okay.
Not really much so much Zoro Control because I figured it'd be played less because it's a hard deck to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you figured day one not many people will play it, and if they do, they aren't like masters of the deck like Tord and the Schultz brothers.
Okay.
So like you should be able to finesse them. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just Zoro Garb and Buzzrock mainly.
Okay, so on to Pedro. What Will said, Pedro, is that he and his testing partners have been playing against a lot of Buzzrock and Zoro Garb, and less against Zoro Control because he's expecting there to be less Zoro Control in day one. How about you? What do you test against?
In my opinion, the meta is the same now in North America, but you add Rayquaza and Sword Control with the Macargo inclusion. So before North America, I tested like every top 3 decks. So now I'm focused to test with against the Sword Control and Rayquaza, because the decks normally I have a lot of tests right now.
Cool. Riley?
So mainly I test against Rayquaza because I think that's going to be pretty popular. Zoroark Garbodor, with a little bit of Zoroark Control as well, and then Buzzrock because I just think Buzzrock's insane and needs to be tested against always.
Yeah, I agree with that. Franco?
Initially, we started to test against, like, what is it, the 5 or 6 different archetype of Zoroark variants they have, Zoroark, Zoropod, Zoro Cargo, etc., etc. It's kind of interesting because at least in our group, even within like Zoro Cargo, we had like probably like 2 to 3 different variation.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to like not only like we had to like predict the meta, but we also tested to study because we have to develop the list and all that stuff and kind of make certain prediction. So we kind of tested it heavily on the Zoroark because it can, change in, its own shape in a different way. So we put a lot of thought into this, and of course Rayquaza, because it's Rayquaza. It's going to be an archetype. It's expected to be, and Buzzwole is Buzzwole. It's been staple for the longest time, and we think it's still going to be pretty staple. So we give it a shot. And initially, we also tested Beast Box, because that was also like another thing that was hyped.
Yeah.
When the set dropped. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have to kind of like give it a check to see how it performs. But as far as I can remember, on top of my head, those were like my initials decks that I was testing against.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Riley, I'll ask this question to you. So testing against Rayquaza, in my experience, when I test against Rayquaza, it's not really to learn what to do against the deck. It's more to see, okay, does this match up? Like, what is this matchup? Like, playing against Zorogarb or Zoro Control, there's a lot of things that they can do to adapt. Whereas Rayquaza, I know they're going to try to get energy on the board and use Dragon Break. So are you testing to see what you can do yourself, or just to see, is this matchup even worth testing with this deck?
I mean, it kind of depends from deck to deck. Like, when you're playing like a Zoroark Garbodor type deck against Rayquaza, we kind of had a little bit of a learning curve. Some people in my testing group were a little too adamant on like going for certain strategies. Sometimes I'll just even trash land for like with 5 items to discard for 100 just because it's a one prizer. You know what I'm saying? And like that can be really good sometimes. But like in general, it's kind of just, can you withstand Rayquaza is kind of how we've tested the matchup. And if you can't, we kind of just throw the deck away.
Okay. Cool. Next I have, this is a good one. Which quality is more important to you guys when selecting your Worlds deck? So, are you looking at matchup spread or consistency as the number one thing? Franco, we'll start with you and go to the left.
Matchup spread or consistency. Okay, so because we're speaking specifically Worlds, because the way I see it is Worlds is a thing on its own. It's a tournament on its own. And regionals are like a little different.
Absolutely.
Like I have like a different perspective in terms of preparation and even method of preparation.
Yep.
So if we're speaking specifically about Worlds, I honestly, personally would choose something both, like balanced for both consistency and matchups. Just because like it's also like, despite that we had an ARG, still the meta is kind of still unknown a little bit.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to keep that in mind and, make certain predictions. But at the same time, it's going to, like for day one, it's going to be 9 rounds. Or we predict it's going to be
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Yeah, 8 or 9. So it's going to be long, nonetheless. So consistency, it's also going to be like a big factor to like not forget about it. So I'll say personally, I'll choose something that has like both, like in a good balance.
Okay. Riley, how about you?
In general, I kind of favor consistency, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
What I would most look for in a deck, and this is kind of how I'm approaching my testing, is a deck that has close to 50-50s, maybe one matchup that's like a little worse and one matchup that's a little better, that is very consistent. That's kind of how I would like to approach the day, because I hate losing to not getting my strategy online.
Yeah, it really sucks. I agree. Pedro, how about you?
Consistency is the king. So
yeah.
if you have a deck that it has more odds to draw well, then normally you will play every game. And if you focus and play well, it should be okay to at least try to win the rounds. At least, unless you have a really bad matchup. Normally, every matchup, if you have a consistency, every matchup is 50-50 at least, or 45-55, or.
Yeah, it's nice to have a chance going into every match, just because you have a deck that sets up. So, Will, what do you favor more going into Worlds? Consistency or a better matchup spread? Most of the guys have said either a nice balance or consistency. I don't think we had anyone select matchup spread over consistency.
I think it really depends on the deck you choose, because like there's certain decks that you can like make more consistent, but also have good matchup spreads. Like Buzzrock, you can like put in more draw supporters, and it doesn't like hinder the matchups at all. So like, I would just go for like a balance, like everyone said, just because like if you can make it consistent and like have even matchups across the board, you just outscore your opponents and go 6-2 a world. So.
Sounds good. So what Will said was he thinks it's good to have a deck like Buzzrock that has a great matchup spread, and just try your best to make it more consistent with more draw support and stuff like that. So I have a list of archetypes that I just want to get some opinions on. Unless more of you have a lot to say about a certain archetype, I'm just going to ask one or two of you for each archetype. So I'm going to start with Will. Will, what do you think about Naganadel Stakataka?
Complete trash. We tested the match. We tested like against everything, and it just loses to everything. Like it's just bad.
Okay. Will said Naganadel Stakataka is complete trash. Riley, Riley, have you tested it, and do you have any thoughts?
I don't know about complete trash, but like it definitely belongs in the same bin. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like it's definitely trash, in my opinion.
Okay. Does anyone love Naganadel Stakataka?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Next is Evil Tall Break with Shrine of Punishment. Pedro, any thoughts on Evil Tall Break with
I
Shrine?
think in the theory it should be an interesting deck, but I mean a lot of Zoroark decks play a lot of heal cards, so it should be hard. Then Rayquaza, if he has a turn 2 150 damage, maybe you have no time to set up. So I mean the theory is fine, but I don't know if the practice is good, so I'm not sure.
Franco, how do you feel about that archetype?
Well, out of the decks that we've been testing, I think I haven't. But Evital is like one of the decks that I personally haven't tested the least. I'll say. So I don't know much about it, but as far as I know, I'll say it just cannot beat Zoroarks, or at least the Zoroarks we have built. It just cannot beat it, and we expect that. It seems with the other groups, I just don't think it can be consistently Zoroark. So for that reason, we kind of like discarded it in the early phase.
Okay.
I think the deck itself on its own, it's cute, it's pretty neat, but I don't see it as like a deck to, go to for Worlds.
Good.
Personally.
Okay. Yeah, I really, really liked it. Like that was the first deck I built the day I got home from NAIC in Worlds format. And I was like, this deck's busted. We have Shrine of Punishment now. It's going to be every Zoroark deck. And then Zoroark Control was like Resource Management, Max Potion, Acerola, Resource Management. I was like, okay, cool. Does anyone think that Evil Tall Break is good for Worlds format? Any differing opinions?
The Zoroark matchup's like unsalvageable, is what I've noticed. If you put a Hoopa in there, you kind of just beat every Turbo Ray, which is pretty funny. Shrine of Punishment is also really bad for Turbo Ray. And Buzzwole is like way too close, considering all your Pokemon like resist fighting. I do not like that. So it's just not salvageable. I don't know.
Okay.
I like the deck too much, but it's not good.
Will, we had negative reviews for Evil Tall Break. Do you have anything positive to say?
Nope, deck is bad.
Okay, he said the deck is bad too. Straight Guardy, so like Guardy Gallade with the Guru or Octillery, maybe an Alolan Vulpix. Will.
It's pretty good against everything except for Buzzrock. And Buzzrock, I think it's gonna be played heavily, so I wouldn't play it.
Okay, yeah, I have the same opinion as Will. He said it's a good deck, but its bad matchup is Buzzrock, and Buzzrock's gonna be everywhere. Pedro, any different thoughts for Straight Guardy?
Yeah, lost to Buzzrock is not good, and then Guardy is a stage 2 deck, so for me it's not consistent. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Anybody really love Guardy? Franco or Riley?
I mean, I love Guardy. It's the first thing I try every time a new set comes out.
For this
matchup is
tournament.
pretty bad though. Like the wins are ugly and the losses are so terrible. It's like not even worth going into.
Yeah. Zoroark Golisopod. Riley.
I'm a huge fan of the deck, just conceptually. Just because I played at NAIC, it's a really strong deck. It's, in my opinion, the best Zoroark deck versus Buzzrock. But its Ray matchup is really bad, and its Zoroark Control matchup is really bad. Even if you play your own Oranguru, you just like cannot keep up with their level of disruption. So I would say it's a no-go, unless you're like really expecting to hit Buzzrocks all day.
Will Zoropod. So Riley said that he thinks it's the best Zoroark deck to go against Buzzrocks, but it has a rough time versus Ray. What do you think about Zoropod, Will?
Totally agree, because Zoropod, it's like 70-30 against Ray. Like, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's some of his best. I think Zorogarb is pretty good against Buzz too. I'd say Zoropod and Zorogarb are the best counters to Buzzwole if you're going to play a Zoroark deck. But it just can't be Ray.
Have you tried any techs for Ray? Tapu Lele, Rainbow Energy, anything like that, Will?
No. I mean, like, we tried the Sylveon in it, but I think the deck for that is the Zoro Control deck. So
yeah, I agree. Next I have Zoroark. So I'll start with Pedro, because as far as I know, Pedro is the resident Zoroark player here. So what's Zoroark looking like for Worlds, Pedro?
Seems fine, but I'm not sure about the Rai matchup and the Zoro Cargo matchup, because 2 attachment is a lot. You need, I think, if you want to win against Zoro Cargo, 2 attachment is so hard. I like the deck. Lycanroc is one of the best Pokemon right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It should be hard to beat like Rayquaza and Zoro Cargo, the 2 new archetypes. So I'm not sure, but it's okay. It's a good deck.
Have you tried replacing the strong energy with basic energy to try to get to actually attack against Zoro Control?
Yeah, I try, but normally if the opponent goes to the Lycanroc like Hammer, Counter Catcher, Team Flag Run,
yeah, exactly.
Then you lose.
Yeah, so... I thought I broke the format. I was like, let's just play basic fighting in Zoroark, and then my opponent goes Flare Gun and Enhanced Hammer. I was like, well, back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Franco, do you have any differing opinions on Zoroark?
I mean, to be honest, Pedro pretty much just said what it needs to be said, and I have the exact same thoughts as Pedro said.
The Flare Gun, Enhanced Hammer, 2 attachments are too hard.
Yeah, not to mention that the Ray matchup is kind of shady, and depending on the garb, like the Zoro garb, depending on their list and all that, it can also kind of go vice versa, I'll say.
Yeah, it doesn't have enough guaranteed matchups outside of Zoro Control for me to want to play it, even though I love the deck. Will, where do you think Rayquaza is positioned going into Worlds?
I think it's pretty good. If you get a good speed rate list, you should beat most things. Because if like any deck stumbles against you, you just win. Yeah, like if you play Ray Garb, you're gonna dead draw or start Trubbish Pass or something. Like Ray Bulu, I mean not Ray Bulu, Ray Vigavolt is bad. Speed Ray's definitely the way to play. If you get a good list, you do pretty well. So
okay. So Riley, I'm gonna ask you about Ray as well. So Will said Speed Ray, a really good list with Speed Ray should have you doing well. What do you think about Rayquaza? Either Ray Garb or straight Ray?
I like both variants of Ray for different reasons. Like the Ray Garb list with these red cards and stuff like that has really been difficult sometimes for the Zoroark decks to keep up with. But Speed Ray is just so reliable, and that's really valuable. And you have that Marshadow as well, which is really cute. If you happen to play that. What I really like about Ray, especially for day 1 players, is that it's a deck that won't tie.
Exactly.
You'll have your games finished in like 20 minutes, all 3 games. And so that's really cool because you don't have to worry. Because in the Worlds format, you have to go X2. You could go like XO3, but that's just much less reliable as a concept. And so that's what's really cool about Ray. Is your games are decided very quickly. You know what's going to happen, and it's for the most part you don't have to think too much. There's like minor sequencing things, but like you got to assume if you're at Worlds, you kind of have that kind of stuff mostly down pat. And so Ray's also just really reliable. You don't have to like think too much while you're playing it.
Yeah, the lack of thinking is definitely nice after my hours and hours of testing in Zoroark Control. Like my head actually hurts after playing that deck. Next I have Buzzrock. Franco, why don't you tell me about Buzzrock?
Buzzrock is, I'll say it's good. Like the Turbo Ray matchup is kind of shady a little bit. It can go vice versa because it really comes down to momentum hitting. Like, you know, whoever can hit what they need to and be able to have like an immediate answer kind of type of game. It really comes down to that. But And same with the Zorak matchup. Zorak matchup is, I'll say it's slightly good, but it's not a guarantee either. That also really comes, it really comes down to, whether you have like an immediate answer to their energy removals and things like that, and if you can play carefully and whatnot. But honestly, if you draw fine and you play right, you should do well in general. It's strong. It's strong. It's just like you kind of have to be careful in certain matchups and certain things based on how your opponent approaches to you. But I don't think it's a weak deck. I'll say that.
Okay, Pedro, Buzzrock.
Buzzrock is the deck that when I faced it, my opponent Octillery draw 4 out of 5 and they need 4 cards and they hit. When I played the deck, I Star Reverite, 5 basic energies, pass.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I mean, the deck is the best deck if you set up, but because it's super strong. But you will have hands like it's a lot of pieces in one deck, like Auxiliary Line, like a Rock Line, Basketball, Beast Ring, Elixir. You need to hit everything in correct order. If not, it's like tricky, right? So
yeah,
it's a really good deck. Maybe the best if you set up correctly because it's super strong.
Yeah, I've personally been trying to find the most consistent Buzzrock because I've never entered a tournament with Buzzrock. I really just don't enjoy playing the deck at all. It's not my play style, but I think it's such a strong pick for Worlds that I'm trying to find a consistent list. Has anyone tried Magcargo Guru or Magcargo Scorched Earth in either just Buzzwole or Buzzrock? I saw Azul playing it without the Lycanrocs, but I've tried it with the Lycanrocs. Riley?
Yeah, my friend Yankus is like really about the Buzzwole Magcargo deck, and when he was describing it to me, I was like, "This sounds like trash. This sounds like maybe the worst thing I've ever heard." But we played a couple games yesterday. It was cool. It's kind of vulnerable in the fact that it relies more on Buzzwole GX.
Yes.
And so just throwing those 2 prizers that are weak to Mew can be kind of sketchy sometimes. But it is really cool. It just like totally smooths over the flow of the deck. It's a lot more reliant on basic energy, which is also nice. It's an interesting concept. That's basically as far as I would go with it. I wouldn't play it, but it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I'm shaky on the lack of Lycanroc, because Lycanroc's like half the reason you want to play Buzzrock, because so many decks have trouble dealing with it. Will, have you seen or tried any of the Buzzwole decks with Magcargo in them?
I haven't tried it, but I watched Azul play a little bit, and I thought it was okay, but like it seems like a gimmick to me. So I don't think anybody would like play it.
Okay. Next I have Zoro Garb and Zoro Control. So I'll just go around and ask which one you want to talk about, Zoro Garb or Zoro Control, which one you have more experience with, or which one you have more thoughts on. We'll start with Will. Zoro Garb or Zoro Control? Not necessarily which one you think is better, just which one would you like to talk about?
I like Zoro. I want to talk about Zoro Control.
Okay.
I think it's probably like if you can like practice with the deck a lot and like you get really good at it. I think you should probably play it because like it can beat anything. Because like Flare Gun is so annoying, and the Magcargo now to get anything is also very annoying. And now Sylveon is very easy to find now to beat Ray. As long as you get set up, you should be able to beat anything. So
cool. Okay, next is Pedro. Just so you know what Will said, he basically said if you have practiced a lot with Zoro Control and you're really good with it, he thinks you should play it because it has the tools to pretty much beat anything. So Pedro, would you like to talk about Zoro Garb or Zoro Control?
I will talk about the other, like Zoro Garb, for example.
Okay.
I remember I tested Zoro Garb like 3 months in a row, all focus on the deck, and then I never played in tournaments because every time I set up Garbotoxin plus N2-1, N2-2, and Hammer and KO the active or something like that, my opponent draws Sycamore or draw double Puzzle of Time, so it's like, okay, and sometimes I have a good feel and my own Garbotoxin cost me the game because my opponent draw better, so it's a good deck, but you need to manage so well when to put the Trust and Garbotoxin, and sometimes even if you put Garbo tossing and low to your opponent draw like God and you lose. So that's why I never play the deck. But the deck is really good because Stefan proves that it's really strong when you play well.
Yeah, I actually watched some of your streams while you were testing Zorogarb, and I tested Zorogarb a lot for NAIC, but it just never felt like the deck that flowed well for me. I watch it do well for other people, but Riley, which Zoro deck?
I probably have more games than Garbodor right now, so
Okay.
I'll speak to that. I think Garbodor is just insanely powerful. You're putting kind of 3 of the strongest cards we've seen in this format into one deck, and it inherently has to be a little strong.
That's very true.
Zoroark is nuts. Both Garbodors are nuts. You can kind of tech the deck to fit what you think you need for the metagame, which is really cool. You can play Rainbow Energies, you can play Unit Energies, you can play Basic Psychics, depending on what you kind of expect out there. Ability Lock End to 1. Sometimes they draw Sycamore, sometimes they draw Basic Energy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and like, I don't know, the comeback potential is nuts. I'm just a huge fan of the deck. I think at worst it has like 50-50 matchups in my opinion, and that's something that's really appealing. The only matchup I really don't like is Buzzwole Lycanroc, and that's because the deck has just a huge Lycanroc problem. It's not even Buzzwole's fault. It's just 100%. If they can get that Lycanroc up with like 4 items in discard, you will just probably lose that game.
Yeah, it's really rough. I haven't ran the numbers for Worlds yet. I'm going to do that this weekend, but going into NAIC, Zorogarb had a very good matchup spread, and I don't expect that it got any worse. It probably got better because of Rayquaza, actually.
Yeah, Rayquaza is just a wash.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for you. Franco.
Well, since we just spoke about Garb back to back, I guess I'll go through the cargo control version.
Sounds good.
I'll say mainly, well, cargo is really good, you know, with the synergy, and you can pretty much pick any card from your deck once per turn, at least.
Yeah.
But honestly, the combination with that plus, you know, Oranger, basically the resource management Oranger is pretty much is like what makes the deck, I'll say, for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think the deck could exist without Guru.
Yeah, basically the existence of Guru basically what made everything complicated. But be able to get puzzles, you know, back to back when you have to, and you know, be able to utilize. You have like a different tools. You know, you have the tools to be able to drag out with counter catchers, energy denials, healing, and all this stuff. Basically, I mean, it's pretty much just what we call library out in Japan, where, you know, it just makes you run out of resource. And it's really not much to explain it. It's just, it gives you so many tools to be able to adopt, you know, however you need to based on the board scenario. And, you know, if you're good at piloting the deck and you know what you're doing, you know, you can kind of, it's a deck that kind of pretty much punishes your opponent for their misplay. If they don't know what they're doing or something, you pretty much punish them. And sometimes you can even punish them even if they don't misplay, depending on the matchup.
Yeah, sounds
so.
Pretty good.
I think it's really good. Pretty much, you know, once you get to that low end point, you pretty much have access towards anything, like whether it's from your deck or your discard pile, you can pretty much get anything you want whenever you want. So that's where it gets really, I guess, ridiculous as a deck.
Yeah, I talk about the deck a lot on this channel and in my articles, but basically when you get to the point you have a 0-card deck, you rescue Stretcher, so your top 3 cards are a 3 Pokemon buffer if your opponent handy works, and then the bottom 3 cards are 3 puzzles. You have guaranteed pretty much anything you want as long as you're trading next turn. It's pretty nuts. So we've talked about a lot of different archetypes. We'll wrap it up with a few meta questions here. So we'll go with Franco first. Name 3 archetypes that you think will each take up 10% or more of the meta share day 1.
Day 1?
Day 1.
Okay, if it's day 1, I'll say Rayquaza. And I'll say Zorogarb. And Buzzwole Lycanroc. Okay.
Rayquaza, it's fine to just lump them in the variants, but which one do you think will take up more, Straight or Garb?
I'll say Straight.
Okay, I tend to agree with that. Riley, same for you. 3 archetypes that will take up 10% or more of day 1.
10% is actually like a really high number in Pokemon TCG meta shares, but I would say like probably Zoro Garb will be the prevailing, is my guess, and then Rayquaza variants and Buzzrock.
Okay. Pedro?
Yeah, I agree with both. It's like Straight Rise, Speed Rise, like the new Nine March, Buzzrock, and yeah, Zoro variants, but maybe Zoro Garb or Zoro Cargo or Zoro like a Rocker Pot. We don't know, but yeah, definitely Zoroark.
Okay. Will 3 archetypes will take up 10% or more day 1. I think Franco, Riley, and Pedro all said Ray, Zoro Garb, and Buzzrock.
I think instead of Ray, you gotta put Zoro Control in there because I think people underestimate Ray right now.
Okay.
Like I don't know if anyone's actually seen the power of Ray, so I would put Zoro Grab, Zoro Control, and Buzzrock.
Okay. So, guys, Will's answer was the same as you, except he replaced Ray with Zoro Control. He said he thinks too many people are underestimating Ray. I'll start with Will for this one. What are your 5 best decks for Worlds? So not necessarily your choices, but what do you think the 5 strongest decks are?
Buzzrock, Zoro Garb, Zoro Control, Ray, and there's the 4.
Yeah, that's why I asked for 5 because everyone has the 4 ready.
The 5th, I have no idea. I guess like maybe some crazy Malamar list that can like beat everything that somebody comes up with, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pedro, 5 strongest decks for Worlds.
Straight Ray, Buzzrock, Zoro Garbodor, Zoro Macargo, and I don't expect Malamars, but maybe Gardevoir versions. If they set up, they should win against Zoro Macargo. They should win against Rayquaza if they set up correctly and quickly. And they should be favorite with the Galate against Zoroark. So maybe Gardevoir. I don't know.
Okay, nice pick there. Top 5, Riley.
So obviously we kind of got the conglomerate of Zoro Garb, Zoro Control, Buzzrock, and Speed Rayquaza.
Yeah, the standard 4.
The last 4, I'm gonna kind of give, I guess, 2 answers. I'm gonna give like straight Gardevoir and Zoroark Galade. I think both of those are pretty strong against these Zoroark decks in particular.
Yeah, Mike Foucher's been talking a bit about Zoroark Galade. I know some other people have been on it as well. It sounds really interesting. I've personally been testing a lot of Zoroark Gardevoir, but I can see how taking out the Fairy Energy and adding in some more consistency things or other tools could be really nice. Franco, top 5 decks.
All right, so I'm gonna start out with the preset 4 decks that we mentioned.
Yeah.
Hands down, and then the last, the 5th deck I'll say is, that's a tough one though. I kind of want to jokingly say Beast Box, but I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
Speaking honestly, I'd probably have to go with the same with Pedro, or I'll probably say Gardevoir.
Cool. Okay. And do you think regular Guardy or Zoro Guardy, or just both?
Honestly, both have like pretty good chance, but in this one, I guess I'll give a 1 vote extra, on top for straight Guardy.
Okay.
I'll say.
Yeah. They both lose to Buzzrock, so that's my problem. And my last question is, if you had to choose a deck mentioned today, so no secret decks, just a deck that we talked about in this video right now, hand in your deck list, what would it be for Worlds, Franco?
Wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
Yeah, so a deck that we mentioned in this video, if you had to choose one of them for Worlds right now, what would it be?
I'll say I'll play Zoro Cargo.
Okay, Riley?
My mind says Buzzrock. My heart says Zoroark, and I'm going to follow my heart on this one, so I'd play Zoroark Garbodor.
Okay.
Sure.
Pedro?
My 2 last years, I played an Elixir deck, so I really like to play Rayquaza. But then my heart say play Zoroark with something. That should be okay. So one of both should be nice.
Okay. Will, if you had to pick one of the decks we mentioned today, right now for Worlds, what would it be?
Buzzrock for sure.
Buzzrock for sure. Okay, cool. Okay, great guys. Thank you for being on. I'm gonna let you guys go around and give your shout outs and any closing thoughts you have to say for people competing at Worlds. Will, you can go first.
Just pick what you're comfortable with. Just keep testing what you're testing. Like, don't get too crazy with any techs or anything. See that's fights for day 2. Yeah, just all you gotta do is go 6-2 at Worlds with a good deck. So.
Cool. Pedro?
Shout outs to my team, Limitless. Check his website, Limitless TCG. You can follow me on Twitter. Is SININCHI. And follow me on Twitch. I will be stream a lot afterwards. I will begin again in September. My Twitch is the same than my Twitter, but plus 18.
I'll link the Twitch in the description.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, see you at Worlds.
Great. Riley?
Yeah, so huge shout out to all my friends up in Akron at the Tricky Gym, Mahon's Tricky Gym. Make sure to check them out on YouTube as well. We came off a rough weekend here, but moving forward, shout out also to all my friends in Columbus, Andrew Mondak, Andrew Dankis, and Jimmy Me. They've been huge helps me this whole year, my biggest testing partners and allies. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at Smiles of the Riles and at Twitch at Munner. I've taken kind of a hiatus from streaming as I've been moving and dealing with post-graduation life circumstances, but I'll be starting back up again shortly. And yeah, thanks for supporting the channel, guys. Really appreciate it.
And Franco?
All right. First of all, I guess shout out to TC Evolution for providing me all this cool dices and providing me opportunities to go to events and whatnot. If you want to see them, check out their dices, whatever. They're cool.
Yeah, they're really
and
sick.
shout out to Luke and everyone here on the on the conversation right now. It's nice to be able to talk with you guys, share experience, and also Luke, especially for giving us the opportunity to be on public, to express. Shout out to my friends all from Florida, but not, specifically, Raul, Jose, and my usual crew. But, of course, everyone in the States, whether you're not from Florida, everyone who knows me, I really appreciate them because, they are part of my TCG life one way or another, just like you guys are.
Great.
And last but not least, shout out to Team Torchic for helping me getting ready for Worlds, and hopefully we do well this year again too. So that's about it.
Sick. Well, thank you guys for all being on. Make sure you message me if you have like your Twitch links or anything you want me to put in the description for everybody to follow. Yeah, guys, make sure you check out flipsidegaming.com. I'll have an article up there probably the day before this video went up, so you can go check that one out, and another one right before Worlds. Use coupon code CELIO, all caps, for 10% off of your next order there. And yeah, thanks again for you guys being on, and have a great day, guys.
Thank you.